Hey y'all, City Lips Plumping Lip Oil. We're going to talk about this Pat McGrath thing, y'all, because I did something I shouldn't have did, and it brought up a memory. And y'all know I am a fan of owning my part. Okay, like something that I wish didn't happen happens. What was my role in that? Like where's my accountability for my actions? And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about. First though, and it is dealing with Pat McGrath Labs. Okay, they're up for sale again. They're still in the bankruptcy. I last talked about the primary lender was giving another 10 mil and committed to at least another 20 mil, which would be 30 mil on top of the 40 mil that they already owe. PML already owes. But yeah, so we're going to talk about that because I have feelings, I have thoughts, and I'm going to use myself as an example because I want to make sure that y'all understand. Okay, we're going to use Klarity Kosmetics. This was sent to me by Janet, and it's called Autumn Rose, and this is the color story. Y'all know this is my color story. This is grungy. There's another collab I saw on Instagram that said it's makeup challenge time, and so the prompt for this one for that collab, did that make sense? The prompt for this current is makeup challenge time collab is to do an all matte look. So we're just going to be over here, and then I'm going to take pictures. I'm going to leave it in the video because then I think I'm going to pop a shimmer in a corner or under brow bone or somewhere. And so that's my thoughts, and I'm excited to see this other collab. I am really enjoying these collabs because there's days when I feel like, oh, I don't really feel like doing a look. And I'm like, oh, you better get that done, it's due. So I'm like, yeah. So here I am. So I don't, is this a dual prompt? No. This was, that's the one I was like, what? I don't have a plan. What we have on Inner Rims is from MAC, of course, is Skip the Wait List, and on Inner Rims, upper and lower, I'm backwards. Inner Rims, upper and lower is Skip the Wait List. Lower lash line is Nudge Nudge Ink. Because to me, this is like a weird kind of red-brown type tone. And when I didn't put it on my Inner Rims this time because when I do, it makes me look a little sick, like in a good grunge type of way. But I'm like, I didn't want to do that for this look. We may or may not put this in the brows, and I'm thinking not now for this look because this is a shimmer, it's a metallic whatever. I really enjoyed the video that aired today when I put the 3 different eyeliner pencils in my brows, and so I'm thinking if we did use, I don't know if we used full sleeve yesterday, this in a brow, so that will just like, we might do that, that'll block them out. When we after pictures, when we come back and pop a shimmer, then maybe we will switch to this one, which is NYX Vivid Rich. I'm not sure. Base face done. I did the same thing, simple. Just use this palette, Regular Suspects, Scandinavia, Fenty, City Beauty, Brightening Eye Cream, Natasha Denona Concealers, Fashion Fair Powder. So the same usual suspects. I do have out this red from Inglot for, ooh, I got an itch. I have this out for Inner Rims. Oh girl. I have this out for upper lash line. And I realized after the fact, I forgot to do upper lash line in the look I did yesterday. I already have mascara out, which is Beyond Mascara from City Beauty. So we're going to prime the eyes and do the intro. While I'm doing that, if you have thoughts about this PML stuff, feel free to leave them below. And I know that there's stands out there, so I kind of feel like, you know, I may end up creating the situation I don't want to create. And y'all know I don't use the word hate often because it's such a strong word, but there's a thing that's been going on for years where if you have an opposing opinion, it's like, oh, they're just a hater. They're just a hater. I don't hate the brand. I don't hate that. I don't. And I still do want another, well, to re-up on Divine Rose. And so I'm not a stan, but I do like their motherships for the most part. Yeah, I liked up to Divine Rose, and then after that I was like, and so anyway. Oh, something just got in my eye. So hopefully my eyes won't tear, because when they tear, it creates a pocket, especially if it tears upward. So hello again and welcome. I need to I'm gonna wipe the lens really quick. because I saw how it does that halo thing when I hold up stuff sometimes. So hello again and welcome. My name is Dion, and I call this the crazy troll nation of YouTube. Why do I call it that? The crazy, there's something in this eye. The crazy knowing it's okay to be your authentic self in a world where people will tell you who and how you should be. The troll part is not caring too much about the beauty community standards. You set the standard for yourself. Try not to feel like you need to use a certain brand, a certain tool, or a certain technique because that's what they're using in whatever video that you're watching. Use whatever you want to, however you want to get your makeup on in a way that you are satisfied with it. Here, we believe in self-acceptance and self-love, embracing our natural features, enhancing them if we want to, when we want to. Never, ever, ever, ever feeling like we have to. Love yourself for who you are and for how you look, even when you're not wearing face paint. So that is the motto to the Crazy Troll Nation. That's what we stand for. For those of you who have been with me for a while and you've been hearing it for years, I hope that it has become one of your daily affirmations. Just loving yourself for who you are, period. It doesn't have anything to do with what you wear or what you don't. Just love yourself for who you are. And for those of you who may be hearing this for the first time, I hope that it resonates with you. Two things about me. Sometimes I curse because sometimes I curse. And there's an organism named Bruce that lives in my throat that likes to randomly hiccup, gurgle, and belch in videos, and in particular, live streams. I try to be aware of him and his shenanigans so that I can say, excuse me. Sometimes I'm not aware. So if you hear, him doing his thing, and I don't say excuse me, please know that I wasn't aware, and excuse both of us. So I'm looking, through the news on my phone, and I saw that Pat McGrath was up for sale again. And I'm like, wait, what? Because I thought the primary lender, I thought like it was over. And I knew the bankruptcy still has to run its course, and it has a date for the actual court hearing. So I know, I knew the case was still in bankruptcy. But I thought as far as like being sold or whatever, I thought it was over. And the primary lender, they do have controlling stock. And I have been saying Pat has not had control of that company for a long time. They do have controlling stock in the company. So I'm like, I've been telling people that. People don't want to believe me. Which is fine. But it's up for sale again, which in a way I was surprised because the primary lender, committed to, another 30 mil, 10 up front. And so I thought, okay. And so I thought that stopped the bankruptcy. And apparently it did for the brand to now be up for sale again. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, wait, what? I don't have a plan. I think I'm going to just put shades. I should just do an eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I should have did a palette bingo. This is gonna be grungy because we're just putting stuff wherever, and this is a grungy goth type palette. Oh man, we're gonna use this shade here, which is blushing. So so there's an investment firm, which I remember years ago I was saying I was digging for information, and you could not find like who the investor was. The information was not public. Googling my fingers off, I could not find anything. Well, now we know it was Sienna Investments. So that firm was who that lender was back that nobody was able to find who it was. And for me, when there's secrecy, I'm like, why is it a secret? You know what I'm saying? So I did not have a good feeling because why is this a secret? Why, like what, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, they want to sell the brand, but the conditions are, don't quote me because right now I didn't print it to look at it like I did the first time I talked about this. I don't know if it was a primary lender that has it for sale or another company, and I should have looked it up, and I do apologize for that. Google it, y'all. Google Pat McGrath Labs up for sale again. It'll pop up. And the previous articles will pop up too. And so what the word on the street is that it's Sienna Investments firm that's the reason for Pat McGrath Labs being underwater. And my analogy was, well, first of all, I was like, okay, so you're saying, and of course people are like, oh yeah, these investment firms are evil. We know it's predatory. I say this all the time. The house always wins. I say it all the time. So, people are like, yeah, these investment firms, they're evil and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, but wait a minute, how did they get involved in the first place? And this is where my story comes in. So it's, and the firm, they did reduce liquidity in the brand. And so if they wanted to release stuff or they wanted to do something new, they didn't have the funding to do it because the firm was restricting how much the brand could spend. And that to me may be why the brand kept taking on more and more loans because they wanted to get stuff done. It's understandable. So that's what I'm feeling happened is with their funds being limited, they took out additional loans so that they can still produce new stuff. They can still run the company, pay overhead and pay employees and, advertising and everything else that goes into running a company. And I'm going to tell you why. And so I'm hoping me sharing my story will make this easier for you to understand and not be like, oh, she's a hater. The firms are evil. Ask yourself this, though. How did the firm get involved in the first place? It was a decision made. I do think there were a series of choices on both sides. But that's what I can see happening. And it's sort of like maybe not such a good analogy. This is looking like a gray brown here, but it's showing up more gray on my lid. We're going to be all the way funky in a good way because we're just going to do hodgepodge. We're going to take this budding blossom next. And it's like, you buy a house, right? And then the mortgage company increases your interest rate. And at the same time, market value starts to crash. So then you end up upside down in the house, meaning you owe more than what your property is worth. For those of you who have owned houses, I am sure you can relate to that because property value does go up and down. And situations like that, property value drops, the mortgage lender increases the interest rates, and so you end up with a property that's worth less than what you owe. And that's when people end up, as the term is, house poor. You pay for this house and now you're poor because you're doing everything you can to pay it off, but property value changes, the interest rate changes. And so I don't know people who have done it, but imagine, okay, they changed the terms on your loan to where you're now upside down and your house poor, but then you take out more loans to cover that loan. And from the first time I talked about this, the article that I took notes on that I was reading from said that Pat McGrath took out a lot of high interest loans. And the majority of those loans, the money went directly to her and not the company. So that's a choice. And so when it's like, okay, the investment firm is evil, who made those choices? A company's not going to get involved just on their own. Like, you have to say yes. And so here's my story. Eons ago, I think we want to, this is looking funky. Like, I don't know if you can see in here, but there looks like little white specks or something in the middle of this shadow. I don't know what that is. I'm going to take this eye is tearing up. I'm going to take a lipstick applicator and just rub this along where I see those lines. So it's on, and it's not, so it's embedded in the shadow because I just scraped a bunch up and I still see those white lines, those white marks in the center of this pan. I want you to see it. I don't want to blind you. So You see what I'm seeing? What is that? What are those white things in the middle of this shadow? And you can see where I just used the sponge tip, no, the lipstick applicator, and I did, and it didn't come off. I thought maybe it was like sparkle from this shadow over there, but no, it's something that's inside. I'm like, what the fuck is that? So, and y'all know I'm big on accountability, even for myself. I'm going to say what my part was. I think we're going to take this up here. This shade is, I'm like, what is that? We're going to take Bouquet. So eons ago, and it was wrong from the start. I was at TJ Maxx. This was eons ago. And my order was like $20-something. And the cashier's like, no, was it? I don't know. It didn't make any, like when I look back, it was nonsensical. Like I should not have done it. Me taking accountability. She was like, oh, it couldn't have been more than like a $50 purchase. She's like, oh, if you apply for the credit card, you'll get, 15% off your purchase today. And I was like, oh, okay. So the little machine thingy asked me some questions. I filled it out. I was approved. Got my 15% off. My limit was like $3,000. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I did still use it after that. So y'all see where I'm going with this story, right? I continued to use it after that, and I think my highest balance may have been maybe like $1,100. Now remember, the limit was $3,000. My highest balance was like $1,100. Yeah, this is tearing upward. I can see it shining in the crease over there. And so I had stopped using it because I'm like, okay, this is insane. Like, I don't need another credit card. I do have too many credit cards, and I do have credit card debt. Okay. Because I made choices. And that's what this is about, choices. So I was paying extra. I had stopped using it, and I was down to a balance of like $700. I get a bill, because you get, credit card bills every month, right? And I looked at the bill and it said I was over the limit. And I'm like, wait a minute, I only owe like $700. How am I over the limit? And the credit limit is $3,000. Y'all, hand to God, they had lowered my limit from $3,000 to $500. Now, mind you, I still owed $700. They lowered the limit enough. So I was over the limit because of how much they lowered the limit. So they lowered it from $3,000 to $500. And I owed $700. And I'm like, y'all know what? So I called TJ Maxx customer service number. And she was like, oh, are you making a payment today? I see you're over the limit. I said, I'm making my payment like I usually do, which is not today, but I want y'all to cancel my card, close my card. Well, if we close it, you're still gonna be accountable to pay it. I said, if you look through my history, you see I pay it on time, if not early, regularly, every single month. Like, that's not an issue. And so I told her why. I said, because that was just, I didn't say to her that it was bullshit, but it was. I'm like, that is unacceptable. And I'm over the limit, which means I had another fee to pay because I was over the limit. Because I was telling her, my limit was $3,000. I was down to owing $700. I had stopped using the card. And I get this bill that's saying, I'm over the limit because they decreased my limit from $3,000 to $500, and I owed $700. I said, and I'm really upset about that. So just close the card. I'm gonna still make the payments. I'm not going to use it anymore. She was like, oh my, let me look. And so she was like, well, you can still just keep it and just continue not using it. And I'm like, just close my card, please. She didn't do it. She told me she was, but she didn't. So the next bill, they had increased my limit to $1,100. I was like, you know what? I shredded the card, paid it off. That was it. So I'm saying all that to say, I can see how she took on this investor, the one that we couldn't find anywhere. We just put on a green. We're going to take this shade right here. This shade is Petal Affair. Y'all, this is tearing in my crease. Y'all see that shine? And so I'm saying that to say I can see how, you know, she went to an investment company for funding and they agreed to it. And then the terms changed. And I don't know if the terms did change. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the terms changed because I don't know, was there something written where we can reduce liquidity whenever we want to? We can restrict liquidity, you know, whenever we feel like it. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was in the terms, but I shared that story to say how there are times when, you know, we can make a choice to do something and we get taken advantage of, because that was some bullshit for them to lower my limit for me to be over the limit, and then I get charged fees for that. So I can see it happening where, you know, they restrict liquidity and, you know, they need funding, you know, to still put out products and, you know, to pay overhead and pay employees and pay for ingredients and packaging. Like, I could see that happening because of that situation that happened to me. So if anybody's watching me for the first time because of the title, you know, call me a hater if you want to, but listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. I can see it happening that way. I don't know if that's what happened, but we do know she took out a lot of high interest loans. You know what I'm saying? And so that was a choice. And so even if the firm, which I think that was, you know, fucked up, for them to restrict liquidity, which does affect how you can run your brand, you know, that was fucked up. Because then it's like, okay, well, how are we going to continue to function as a brand when we need funding to run the brand and they're restricting what we can spend? And so money was still coming in, of course, but PML itself was restricted from what they could use, which is what makes it fucked up. And so I can, in my bones, that's what I feel happened, is that they needed money. And they thought, well, let's take out more loans and then more loans and then more loans. And then we end up in bankruptcy. And the bottom line to that is, even taking on that investor in the first place, for whatever reason, I don't know what the reason was, it was still a choice. It was my choice to apply for that credit card. It was my choice to use it, because that initial purchase being like $50-something, I could have just paid that off and shredded the card then. But no, I still used it, and then I stopped using it, and so then they lowered my my limit, restricting what I could spend, if you want to say it that way, in this case's terms, and then they increased it again. I'm like, I'm shredding it. I'm like, I ain't playing these games with y'all. You only gotta burn me once. And so, yeah, I paid it off. I shredded the card, paid it off, and that was the end of that with TJ Maxx. I'm going to go back to the brush with the green. Y'all, this is creasing. And so that, to me, is what I think happened. And then it just got out of control. Because if you have these high interest rate loans that you're taking out for overhead, for products, for ingredients, or for whatever, and you're still restricted in what you can spend, like, how do you get out of that? You know what I'm saying? And so I do like this. This is a lot sharper. This is still the brush that had the green. We are not adding more shadow. But that's what I feel happened. And so I'm not going to just be like, oh, the brand is evil. How did the firm is evil. How did the firm get involved? It was a choice made. Just like I made that choice to apply for that credit card. It was a choice. When people buy houses above what they can pay, and that happens a lot, you know, this is what you make, this is what you can afford. And they're like, oh, but you can get a house for $350,000 instead of, you know, $210,000. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Low interest, but then you read the fine print, you know, after 12 months, the interest rate is going to go up. That it happens. And then people end up owing more than what they initially did. And then again, you know, interest rates change, market value changes. And so I can see it happening. And that's really what I think happened. I don't think it was about tariffs, because loans were taken out, you know, way before tariffs. And even back to the initial, why did the firm get involved? Like, there was a choice in that. That was way before tariffs. And that is kind of like my second thought to everything. Like, is like, okay, was this before or after tariffs that this problem started? You know what I'm saying? Because it did affect a lot of things, and a lot of brands like did close down. I like this. I don't like that this is tearing. You see that shine in my crease? I don't know if you do or not. I'm liking this look. I was gonna feather above upper lash, this top line, but I'm not, because I'm okay with how it's blended. This side is up a little higher, so let's go back to the brush with the orange. Not adding more shadow to it, so we're just gonna bring this up some. So let me know if that sounds right to you as far as the trajectory of how that happened. Something happened. You went to this firm. They accepted to give you a loan. The brush with the green, not adding shadow to it. And then them restricting liquidity, restricting how much money coming in that you can use. And then you're still wanting to do stuff and still need to pay stuff. So then you take out other loans. Let me know if that makes sense to you, because it might not. I mean, you know, we have different experiences and, you know, whatever, but I can relate. And that's why I shared that story about me, because companies will do some shady shit. And I could say, oh, it's their fault. I'm the one that said yes to apply for the damn card. But again, I do think it was choices on both sides that turned out, hindsight is 20/20, they say, turns out wasn't good choices. So that's what I got to say about that. So let me know, you know, how you feel about that. Yo, I didn't wash the brushes from the last 2 looks I did. So this is going to give me 3 looks of brushes. My only eyeshadow packer brushes that are not used as of this look are my Hourglass. All my other shader brushes are dirty. And that's why I get more than one if I like a brush. Because some people will be like, why do you buy more than one brush? Why do you have... Well, that's why. Because if I don't wash it after every use, I can have other brushes. And these are the ones that I use so far. And we're going to use the 2 remaining clean Fenty 220s for lower lash line. What have we not used? I don't think we used either one of these blue. Did we use this blue? We're going to put this on first half lower lash line. Actually, no, we're going to take Rooting for You. I hate that phrase now, because I watched on Netflix the docuseries for America's Next Top Model. Y'all, seeing it now, I see it in a whole new light. And I'm just like, wait a minute, what? There was an essay happening that they filmed. There was a lot of psychological manipulation, and T herself still takes 0 accountability. Well, production made a choice. Okay, listen. She would have conversations with the girls, because there were some talks afterwards, like, where are they now? And they would, you know, say, you know, such and such, such and such, such and such. And so there was talk of how, like, T would ask them about, like, their history, their past. And if they shared something that was very vulnerable, very traumatic, she would mention that during, like, the judging or whatever. Or, and learning from this one, the one, I think it was Danielle, who had a problem with one of the male dancers kept, you know, touching her. And she was like, and guess which photo they chose for judging? The photo with his hands on my thighs. So I was just like, oh my God. And so that stuff we didn't know at the time was how they were manipulating what was being used. And Mr. J has said, was it him or somebody else? Yeah, he had found out that if a girl was going to be eliminated, they chose her worst picture for judging. I'm like, I mean, the whole thing was like, and she still takes 0 accountability for anything. I'm just like, this bitch. And so I was talking about it with a friend. They were like, she was diabolical. That's the word she used. We're going to take this light blue. And I was just like, this shit is nuts. I'm looking at this shadow as I'm swiping it with the brush. And there's like white specks in there too, just like that other shade I showed you. Like, what is this? That first shade I used, it's a lot. And I'm like, what are those spots? Like, what is that? And scraping the top layer off did not remove it. So I'm really like, okay, what is that? Like, what are you? And I don't have a lab like to test for mold or anything, but so let me know though if that sounds right to you. Whatever happened, they wanted more funding. They went to the firm and they gave them funding. And I think now we're going to take this shade because this will tie in with this underneath. Y'all know I love to do that. And so then this shade is Don't Leave Me Hanging. And that to me is what it feels like, especially when I think back to that TJ Maxx credit card experience that I had. They lowered it, which caused me to be over the limit, and then I had to pay a fee for that. Oh, I don't know if I said it. The lady on the phone, she did say she would take the fee off because she saw how like drastically they had lowered the limit, and she saw my steady payments of over the minimum because I was paying it down. But I think that was a ploy because, as I said, I told her to close it, and apparently she didn't because that next month I got a bill and my credit limit was higher than what I owed. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, fuck this shit. I shredded it, paid it off, and that was it. But I do hope that my story helps understand like why I'm saying what I'm saying. So we've used all the mattes in here except these two down here. Is my nose dripping? So we're going to take from Inglot number 87. And we're going to put this on our upper lash line. So that's my thoughts on that. And so, you know, you can place blame wherever you want to place the blame, but just know there were choices made. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And that was another saying I was about to say, but I'm not. It's more than one side to any situation. But there were choices made. There were choices made on both sides. And, you know, here we are today. I don't think anyone will buy the brand. And so I do think that the primary lender is going to maintain. And actually right now, like they kind of own the brand because they have majority stock in the brand because they're wanting to be paid off and for her other loans to be paid off. And she owes the primary lender at least 70 at this point. The initial was 40. They fronted 10 and committed to it at least another 20. So that 10 and that 20 is 30 with the 40 she already owed was 70. And they want for all of her other loans to be paid off. I don't have a complete number. I don't have a total number. But I don't think if a company buys PML, I will be very surprised. And I was hopeful that it was the primary lender that, you know, fronted another 10 and committed to at least another 20 because that shows me like they have faith in this company. Because there ain't no way, and I said this in the previous video, there's no way if you owe me money, I'm going to loan you some more. Nah. And so, but that, you know, I'm thinking like they really have a lot of faith that, you know, her as chief creative officer, which again told me she wasn't in charge because of the title, that she can bring it back and it'll thrive and they'll get their money back off of sales and profits. You know what I mean? And so I was feeling like they just need to shut down because this is just craziness happening, and craziness has been happening for years. And all the years I've been saying, you know, she has not been in charge for years. Like this has been happening, this has been happening, stuff ain't making sense. You know, just look at the products. Like this is not her ingenuity here. Like this is not her best work here. But I was hopeful because I'm like, if they're going to loan her more money, they have got to have hope and believe that she's going to bring it back. You know what I'm saying? And she's releasing a dual-ended lip product. I believe one end is a liner and one end is the lip product. And I'm not getting it, of course. Oh, I like this look. I think we can manage pictures without that looking too crazy. And if it does look crazy, I'll just put a caption that, excuse me, that my eye is tearing. So, but that's where I'm at with that story. And it's a lot of craziness. I just touched the wand here, and I'm going to leave it. We'll pretend that that's a mole. Well, freckle, actually. But, yeah, so what are y'all thoughts on that? And I know some of y'all just don't flat out care. I do know that. But if you have been even, like, in the background of your life, you know, following the story, let me know what your thoughts are on it. And if you can kind of see what I'm saying about how they ended up where they are right now. And as far as accountability. Like, I'm not going to blame TJ Maxx for that situation because I chose to get the card. So I cannot at all feel good about just being like, oh, the firm, because how did they get involved in the first place? There were choices made for the firm to be involved. And there were choices made for the other loans. I've been hitting myself a lot with the mascara wand lately. Little black dot. We're going to leave that there too. I might take that off. I don't know. So, yeah. And do I think it's discrimination? Because I did think about that. A black woman running a business and thriving in the beginning. But I don't know. Because I don't know who the firm's, other clients are and who owes what and what they look like. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to even say that. I'm just saying I did wonder. Because as a black woman in America, like, there's just some things that does just happen to us and not other people that look different. But I will never know that, and I'm not claiming that that's what it is because I really don't know, and I'm not even, We're going to take the brush that had the orange. We're not going to put more shadow on it. We're going to sweep over, back and forth where the mascara is, and that covered it up. We're going to leave that right there. I could flake it off. Let's just flake it off. I need to do a lip. What am I going to do for a lip? I'm thinking line fill in and I creep the tearing stop. I'm thinking line fill in and put a gloss on. That's what I'm thinking. Oh my gosh, here's root for me again. So it's a shade that we used in this one. And the reason I was saying I don't like that phrase anymore is because watching that docuseries, and that's how they started. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Yeah, they started with that. I was just like, so now I'm like, I don't even like that phrase anymore. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Girl, control yourself. But what am I going to do to the brows? I think I'm going to leave the brows. We're going to do the lip and be done. And this is Lip Glazer from MAC. It's a metallic lip liner, hence the glaze, part of the name. My lips are still very moisturized from the oil, so this is just wanting to go everywhere. Are we still going to fill in the lips? And again, I know some of y'all don't care at all about that. But if you're here for the first time because of the title, and if you made it this far, like, can you see why I'm saying what I'm saying? And does it sound all right to you? And again, I don't know if that's what's happening or not, but that's what I feel like. happen. I can imagine that happening. And I'll tell you this too. When people are in debt and they're over their heads, they know it. They know it. And that's when they start trying to, seek help or debt consolidation or whatever. But to take out loans to pay a loan, like that, nah. Unless you really believe that you were going to be able to pay it. But then that's where we get into trouble. Because if they change the terms or something happens in our personal life, we'll lose a job, we're going to be worse off than we was before we even did that. You're going to put gloss on top of this. Yeah, it's looking patchy. I'm going to take a MAC gloss, the darkest one, Sublime. It's described, actually it's Sublime is the title, and it's described as plum with red scatter pearl. You can see it in the tube, but is it going to show up like that on the lip? I like this lip, this look. Is it shining right? It looks like it's just moving around the lip pencil. So thank you for this palette. I just need to figure out what those what those white marks are that is embedded in the shadow. Scraping off a layer or two of the shadow, it did not make a difference. This is cute. Oh, this is shiny. And color lip glass for a reason, Dion. I know. So let's take pictures. And you know what? I'm not even going to pop a shimmer. Do I want to do something with the brows, though? We're going to just leave it. We're going to leave it. I want to do it. This is full sleeve for back. I know y'all. I apologize. And we are putting this over top of the Fancy Lip Pencil. Ooh, I like it. I done started something from when I did this in yesterday's look that aired this morning. Putting an eyeliner in my brows. I do like that I did still do the tails with the brow pencil, because otherwise this would have showed up a different color where there's no hair. I really like this. I done found something new to do. Oh, wow. And this is way easier to take off than Inglot out of my brows, because I remember saying I have to scrub to get Inglot out of my brows, because it just wants to sit and show in the hair. But this will just wipe off. This is nice. I like this. And I realized I just made a line right here. So we are going to come underneath the brow and just put this under here all the way in. And we're going to do that on the other side as well. This is really nice. This is nice. I think we need to go darker on this side or come down further so it'll show up more. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to leave your comments down below. I made that thick over there. Don't forget to like, comment, and share if you know someone who is following this story. Or just to be like, this Dion is batshit crazy. She is a troll. Freaking a hater. Like, whatever you want to say to your friends. But just know, hate is a strong word. And just because I have my own opinion doesn't mean I'm hating anything. But that is such an easy thing that people say these days. Oh, they're a hater, they're a hater. I'm like, can you be a little original? Oh! I like it. I want to do up here too. We're going to stop though. Oh my. And this side started tearing again. We're going to go. Thank you y'all for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Consider joining the membership as well. If you click join, it'll show you the perks. And then from there, if you do want to join, you can join. So it won't automatically join you. $2.99 a month. You can cancel at any time. Let me know too what you think about this look though. I'm digging it. And I'm glad we did go with this Liner for upper lash line. We're going to go. As always, self-acceptance, self-love. That is the Crazy Troll Nation way. Thank you, and you will see me soon.